Have you ever watched a film that feels so long and is so darkly lit and is so quiet that you start to wonder who the film is made for? The Pale Blue Eye. So the IMDb plot synopsis for The Pale Blue Eye goes as follows. At West Point Academy in 1830, the calm of an October evening is shattered by the discovery of a young cadet's body swinging from a rope just off the parade grounds. A young, wary detective, played by Christian Bale in this film, is hired to investigate the murder that has taken place. And basically, he enlists one of the cadets who work at West Point Academy, a young man called Edgar Allan Poe, played by Harry Melling, I think it is, Harry Melling in the film, to help him investigate the murder. And that's essentially the plot for The Pale Blue Eye. And honestly, I liked this film. I didn't think it was brilliant, but I also didn't think it was bad. I thought it was good. And the thing is, the film is a bit too long. In fact, it feels really long. It feels longer than it actually is. It's only about 2 hours and 10 minutes, and it feels about 3 hours. It dragged on in parts, and there's about 20 minutes of the film that I think you could easily cut out. And also, it's a very quiet movie. There's parts of the film where I couldn't really hear the dialogue which certain characters were saying. And I'm not sure if it was important dialogue or not, because I couldn't hear them. And also, it's a dark film. And what I mean by that, the subject's dark. The subject matter is dark. The film, in the first 10 minutes of the movie, you quietly see someone who's been hung and he's got his heart ripped out. But at the same time, though, it's also darkly lit. And it's like, does everyone remember that one episode of Game of Thrones, and the last series of Game of Thrones was the battle episode, where no one could see anything what was going on? It was kind of the same in this film. And you have to turn off the lights wherever you're watching the film to fully see it, because it's so darkly lit. And I wasn't a big fan of the lighting in the movie, and it feels really long, and there are parts which are drawn out, and it gets a bit dull at times. And the mystery isn't as compelling as it could have been if the film was tighter, if it wasn't as drawn out, and if it was more to the point. It doesn't have a sense of urgency, this film. It's essentially a murder mystery, which is one thing I haven't really mentioned yet. It's a murder mystery set in a period setting. But at the same time, though, it isn't quite as compelling as you want it to be. It doesn't have the same sort of pace and urgency as, say, Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery. And I'm not saying that I want every murder mystery to be like Glass Onion. That one's just at the top of my head right now because it came out on Netflix, just before Christmas. But at the same time, though, Glass Onion has a sense of it which keeps drawing its viewer in. It's so compelling, and it's done so well, and it's edited so well, it's structured so well, it's directed brilliantly. And when you get to the end, when the mystery is unraveled, when you find out what's really been happening in Glass Onion, you sit there and go, that is brilliant. When you find out what's happened in The Pale Blue Eye, when the mystery is unraveled, it doesn't blow you away like it should. You just kind of get to the end and go, oh, wow, that's really interesting. But it could have been more interesting. I could have been more blown away by the reveal. I liked the reveal. I liked finding out what happened. I thought that was probably the most interesting part of the movie. But it could have been more interesting. It could have really captivated me a lot more if the film was just more compelling and more captivating. And I feel that's because it is so dull and dry at times. And the film does have a lot of perks. The reason that the film is, partly compelling is because of the performances. Christian Bale does a great job in this film. It's not his best performance in my opinion, but it's by far not his worst either. It's definitely better than his performance in Amsterdam, which I actually thought it was probably the best part of Amsterdam. But that's saying something, because I even thought it was a bit up his own arse with his performance in that movie. Like, with Amsterdam, I felt like he read the character, he knew what performance he wanted to do, and he just wouldn't get out of that mindset. It almost like the director didn't give him any direction because they were so scared of him. Christian Bale can't give him any sort of direction in Amsterdam, so I think Amsterdam's kind of his worst performance, but I even still kind of like him in that. But he is much better in the film. He is fantastic in this movie, actually. He makes a lot of it compelling, and apparently, another link to Amsterdam again here, he was involved in the editing and the post-production on Amsterdam. He was also involved in the editing and post-production on The Pale Blue Eye on this film. And you do start to get the feel that maybe, you start to get the idea that maybe Christian Bale likes long drawn-out movies. Because Amsterdam is a long and drawn-out film. I quite enjoyed the first half an hour of Amsterdam. I liked the movie they started off with. After the first half an hour, though, when it goes to New York, wherever that film's set, it really lost me. It became drawn out, long, dull, and tedious. And I mean tedious. And this film wasn't quite as tedious as Amsterdam, but at the same time, though, it is drawn out, and it is a bit too long. It's overlong in parts, and with Christian Bale involved in the editing and involved in the post-production of both Amsterdam and The Pale Blue Eye, you start to get the notion that maybe Bale quite enjoys long drawn-out films. And I can see why some other people would quite enjoy the long drawn-out sense of The Pale Blue Eye, because for some people it might immerse them into the setting. But for me, it didn't really. It just kind of made me, and I hate to use this word, but I'm going to use it anyway, bored. Like, I paused the film at one point to go to the loo, just have a quick break, and I thought it was only going to have like 10-20 minutes left. It had 45 minutes left, and I sat down to watch it again. I was like, oh god, let's just get through it. And I think it could have been tighter. I'm not saying that it should have been like Glass Onion. I'm not saying that. I'm just using Glass Onion as an example to compare it to, like I did earlier, because that movie came out recently on Netflix, and this is also a Netflix film. The Pale Blue Eye is also on Netflix as well. But at the same time, though, it felt so long in parts, and it was sluggish, and it got a bit silly as well. There's this whole sort of witchcraft sort of storyline, which I didn't really get. I mean, I understand why they put it in there, and apparently this film was based on a book as well, and I should say, haven't read the book, surprise, surprise, but, they had this whole witchcraft storyline in there, which I'm not even sure if it was witchcraft. That's how much I cared about it, and I just thought that was unnecessary. I mean, again, I get why I was in there, but I don't think it really added much to the main mystery of the movie. But going back onto perks, I thought Christian Bale was great, like I already mentioned. As for other performances, Toby Jones in there, he's great. Actually, would like to see a bit more of him. Gillian Anderson's in there. She's great. Would have liked to see a bit more of her. Also, Timothy Spall's in there, and he is great as well. I didn't really know he was actually in it. And Harry Melling as Edgar Allan Poe. He's really good in there. I really liked the sort of camaraderie, or the chemistry, should I say, of Christian Bale and Harry Melling's characters in this film. And also, I loved the way it was shot. I loved the scenery of the film. All this movie takes place in this snowy setting. And I'm someone who absolutely adores snow. It's my favourite type of weather. Bit of an essay fact there, but I wanted to add it in there anyway. But still, yeah, I'm someone who loves snow. So I was looking at the set in this movie going, oh, it looks luxurious. I'm someone who would love to go and live in a setting like the one in the movie for about, or just, like the cottage that Christian Bale lives in this film, for about a week, a month, or a year, just see what it'd be like, just to live in a snowy setting like you see Christian Bale's character living in this film. I just think that looks brilliant, because I'm someone who loves snow. So I loved the scene in the film. I liked how Scott Cooper, I think that's the director's name, tried to immerse the audience into this setting. I don't think he fully succeeded, but I do think he did a good job attempting to immerse the film's audience into the setting. And I liked how the performances tried to make the film compelling as well. And there's a lot to admire with it. It's a well-shot movie. I just think it could have been better. It didn't blow me away, and at parts, I was wondering whether the people behind this film, the filmmakers and the director and whatnot, and even Christian Bale, who was involved in the making of this movie apparently, I was wondering if they were thinking this might be like an Oscar-bate film. And I got to think about Oscar-bate movies. I don't like them. My favourite movies that won Oscars in the past are films like Titanic and films like Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, where if you asked, Peter Jackson, James Cameron, who were directors on those movies, if you asked them when they started production on those films, if they would have liked to won Best Picture, Best Director, and just any Oscar for those films, they would have said, oh, well, it would be delightful, but that's not what we're planning. I like when a director just makes a movie with no intention of getting an Oscar. And it did feel in parts, much like Amsterdam actually, that they were trying to get an Oscar. They're trying to get Oscar buzz with this film. And that kind of rubbed me, actually, that really rubs me up the wrong way. Yeah, that sort of idea of trying to get an Oscar, it just annoys me. And it did feel in parts like this film was doing that. That might just be me. That might just be me thinking that. But I couldn't help but think in parts like the director was he was making things a bit drawn out because he thought he was so brilliant, and in the end it just comes across as a bit drawn out and dull in parts. I still like the movie. I don't dislike it. Like I said before, I think it's got a lot of perks. I particularly love the scenery, which sounds like a small thing if you haven't seen the film, but if you have seen the film, you know that the scenery is actually quite an important part. In fact, it adds to the sort of eeriness and the sort of mystery of the movie, but at the same time, I just wanted the mystery to be more compelling. It's a murder mystery, and I often quite enjoy a murder mystery if they're done well, but in this film, about halfway through, it's like, yep, I'm okay now. I want to find out who did the murder. I want to find out why these cadets are dying, who's doing it. And when you find out, it's good, but it's not brilliant. It's not as good as it could have been if the mystery, at least for me, was more compelling and more captivating. And so, all in all, I liked The Pale Blue Eye. I did, and it's a good Netflix movie, but it's not brilliant. And I was about to say I'd be surprised if it wins any Oscars, but at the same time, no, I probably wouldn't be, because often Oscar movies, movies that win Oscars are just not for me. But still, nonetheless, I can't see it myself being nominated for Oscars. But, if you're thinking of checking out this movie, would I recommend it? I don't know if I'd recommend it, but I would not recommend it either. I think it's a film which you just kind of have to check out yourself, and I think some people will really like it, and some people will just find it really tedious and sluggish. Personally, I'm in the middle, but I just wish it was a bit better. And I thought in the end that it was a slow, if somewhat compelling mystery. And so for that reason, I'm going to say that The Pale Blue Eye, I'm going to say that it's I think I'm just going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's not bad, like I said, and that's why I haven't given it a 6 out of 10 or 5 out of 10. In fact, I was leaning towards giving it more of a 6.5 out of 10 before doing this review, but there is a lot to admire this movie. I've talked about a lot of the negatives of the films, I've talked about a lot of the negatives with this film and a lot of the things that annoyed me, but in the end, there is a lot to admire. It's a well-shot film. I do think the characters are all interesting, and I think the performances elevate this film into something much better than it actually is, to be honest. But the performances are in there, and they're all doing a great job. Christian Bale's in there doing a great job. So is Gillian Anderson. So is Lucy Boynton, which is one person I've forgot to mention. And it's shot well, and I like how it tries to immerse the viewer. And I can see a lot of people liking it. It just, I wish the mystery was more compelling, but I like the scene where the mystery is revealed. When it's revealed who's been doing all the murders. And I did feel that it was built, I feel that the film built up to that reveal quite well, which is why I do like the movie, because I did like the mystery. And I did find it compelling, just not as compelling as I wanted to. I know I might sound like a broken record there, but it's just because I want to find the mystery so much more captivating. I want to be engrossed by it, and I wasn't, sadly enough. I wasn't. But I liked what the film was going for. I liked how it tried to make it more compelling. It could have been better. It could have been better. That's why I see this film as a whole. That's why I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. It could have been better, but it's good for what it is. And it's on Netflix if you do want to go and check it out. If you're a fan of Christian Bale or anybody else in this movie, I would not recommend it. You know, I would not disencourage anyone from watching it. But at the same time, though, I would also not go out of my way to recommend it. It's not anything I would write about, and not anything I would go praising about and talk about for days and days on end. It's good. I liked it, and like I said before, it's a slow, it's somewhat compelling mystery. And that's kind of how I feel about The Pale Blue Eye as a whole. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that The Pale Blue Eye, I'm going to say that it's a 7 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of The Pale Blue Eye? Please you comment down below and know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please click down below and like, subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more both film and TV reviews and podcasts coming very, very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now. Bye.